stand aside.
You're out of your jurisdiction, First Minister.
So, here's what happens next. Anyone who resists COG justice will be dealt with.
Like Settlement 2?
That's your choice.
You're forgetting one thing.
Oh? And what's that?
This isn't Settlement 2.
Okay. Good meeting.
What is up everyone, Barricade here, and today I'm bringing you guys another Gears of War Theories video. Today I'm going to be talking about something quite interesting that I've been thinking about lately, and that is simply Settlement 2, and also its effects on the COG and the people within it. I have a feeling that when it comes to Gears of War 5 that will come out eventually, we will see huge things regarding Settlement 2, and honestly I have a few ideas, and I believe a lot of things all tied together regarding Settlement 2. First thing I'm going to talk about here is simply why did JD and Del go AWOL and eventually leave the COG. I have a feeling it also ties in with Settlement 2 and also has a connection with Kate. If you notice in Gears of War 4, Kate was never part of the COG. She never was a soldier ever to begin with. She was always an outsider. And we see her put on the COG armor thanks to Marcus letting her use Anya's old armor, but in reality, she was never a COG soldier. The thing that makes me wonder is what exactly happened in Settlement 2. One thing that's quite interesting is if you notice at the beginning of this video when I showed the clip with Reyna, we see her say, oh, like Settlement 2? Like she immediately brings that up, like almost like she feels hate and anger because of Settlement 2. What I believe is maybe at some point in time, Reyna and Kate were actually a part of the COG, not as soldiers obviously, but just part of the COG themselves as normal citizens. If you notice, Oscar was actually a COG soldier as well for a long time, and I believe because of Settlement 2, that's the reason why he left it as well. If you notice, this would also be the reason why he was able to meet JD and Del, because of the fact that they were all COG soldiers around the same time, so this would actually make a lot of sense. He probably was either their sergeant or something along those lines where he worked with them. Due to the fact that they knew Oscar through the COG, this also led JD and Del to meet Kate. And then basically after Settlement 2, they left the COG together and basically became their own little group as the Outsiders. And this really makes a lot of sense to me because if you notice, it seems like the COG itself changed a lot after the end of the Human Locust War. It seems like a lot of the older soldiers have no affiliation with the COG anymore, and like I stated in my other video, it almost seems like there's not even any normal soldiers around. It seems like the DBs basically took over all of the major spots for the soldiers, and now they simply build the cities, do all the soldiers' jobs, and all the other soldiers are just nowhere to be found. So maybe something along those lines happened where something at Settlement 2 with all the citizens happened, or maybe for whatever reason the citizens there rebelled and it turned into a war between the citizens and the DBs, causing a lot of people to die and realizing that the COG is just simply not worth it with this type of dictatorship. To me, it seems like what Jinn did with the COG is make it very, very strict. You know, they are simply trying to rebuild humanity, and they're horribly strict on how their ways are. You know, we got things that are completely different than what the COG was with the DBs, them trying to basically force people to have children all the time. It just feels weird. Like everything about it is entirely different. And I know the COG had birthing camps and things like that during the Locust Human Wars, but they actually stopped that. They didn't do it anymore. And by the time it was already Gears of War 1 and 2 or so, none of that was going on anymore. So they actually acted more like a normal army and a little bit more of a democracy, because Prescott would say from time to time that yeah, he was the chairman, but if they didn't want him anymore, he was out. You know, he wasn't going to try to force it. If they wanted him gone, he would leave. And the thing is, with Jinn, it feels like completely 180, where she's the leader, this is how things are, and no one can oppose the COG. You know, that's how it feels, that's how it seems with this character. And actually, I believe that's what it became. It became a highly huge dictatorship where things were set a certain way. And while it might have not been too big of a deal at first when humanity was first being rebuilt after Gears of War 3, but after a while, people aren't going to like that. And people like Marcus Phoenix and other characters who are used to the COG being a certain way probably just didn't like it and just simply left the COG. And then while he was no longer a part of the COG, probably JD and Dell were still, trying to make it and being soldiers. But after Settlement 2, they realized the same thing that Marcus did, is that the COG was simply just no longer worth it, and left. If you notice, certain things that Jinn says makes me really believe that she ruled the COG with a huge iron fist, and also formed it to be quite a bit of a dictatorship. One line that really stuck out to me is actually in the scene at the beginning of this video, where she says, "Anyone who resists COG justice will be dealt with." That feels really out of character for the COG, because while they were a martial law due to the Locust, they still felt somewhat free, and when it came to the Stranded, they respected them, and they respected them to be, by themselves. They never acted like, the big badasses of the world, and never forced their will upon anyone. They gave it as an option. But with the way Jinn says that just seems really dark to me. That feels almost evil to me, honestly. And then the other thing that she does and says that really stood out to me is, after you steal the Fabricator at the beginning of the campaign, she arrives with capturing Oscar, and then shows off the 2 new DBs holding the Enforcers. JD makes a remark saying, "Oh, those are new, and they're armed." And then Jinn says something along the lines of, "They are." And here's what's interesting. Unlike you two, they actually follow orders. Then JD gets mad and says, "What is this? Are you looking for a repeat of Settlement 2? And then this is the part that really stood out to me, is where Jinn says, "A highly successful operation. It is now our most compliant settlement." That really stood out to me, because to me that's saying that they did rebel. They did obviously try to rebel against her, and she didn't have it. So they had weapons, and they killed people because of the fact that JD pointed out, "Hey, these guys are armed," and she goes, "Oh yeah, they follow orders." What does that say to you? Maybe she actually was telling COG soldiers to kill citizens because they weren't listening, because they weren't following the COG justice, so they had to be dealt with. And that's what I personally think, and maybe that's why they left the COG, because they were probably told to kill people, and maybe even told to kill Kate. You never know. And they probably realized, you know what, this isn't right. This isn't what the COG is. This isn't what I want to be, so I'm out. And they left. And that's just what my personal opinion is. That's what I believe happened. Something along those situations where Jinn wanted them to do something bad, and they said hell no. And that's why they left. But overall, guys, if you guys like this video, please definitely hit that like button and subscribe, and tell me what you guys think about my ideas of Settlement 2 and whether or not I'm right. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and take it easy.
Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see my most recent Gears of War video, hit that link on the left. If you want to see my most recent Dragon Ball video, hit that link on the right. Thanks for watching, guys.